The emergency lights flickered inside the drifting station, turning the metal halls red, then dark, then red again. Silent alarms flashed on every screen, but the station itself made no sound. It was already dead. Only one human still moved through the long corridors, wearing a cracked helmet and carrying a small black device under his arm. His name was Elias Ward, and he was the last survivor of Earth. Smoke leaked from the broken ceiling pipes as he ran. The alien attack had been fast, too fast for anyone to understand. One moment, Earth was bright and full of life. The next, a wave of light erased cities, oceans, mountains, everything. The invaders did not conquer Earth. They deleted it, as if it had been a simple file on a screen. Elias had watched the world vanish from orbit. He had screamed until his throat bled, but the planet did not come back. Only dust and white ash remained, floating like snow across the black sky. The memory still burned in his mind as he rushed toward the command deck. The aliens thought humans would disappear quietly. They were wrong. He reached a sealed door and pressed his shaking hand against the lock panel. The system scanned him and opened with a heavy hiss. Inside the command room, more red lights flashed. Sparks fell from the ceiling like tiny, dying stars. Elias set the black device on the main console. It looked small and harmless, but inside it held something no alien weapon ever had: human rage. The device activated by itself as soon as he connected the power line. A soft blue glow spread across its surface. Elias could feel the weak hum of energy, like a heartbeat. The core inside it was unstable, made from stolen alien tech mixed with human improvisation. It could destroy an entire fleet or wipe out a system if used the wrong way. He did not care. He had nothing left to lose. Before he could finish the final connection, the floor shook. A new shadow appeared in the doorway. Elias turned, raising a metal tool like a weapon. An alien drone hovered in the hall, its long black limbs clicking softly as it scanned the room. Its single red eye focused on Elias. The machine was designed to erase survivors, to remove the last traces of humanity. Elias felt a wave of fear freeze his chest, but he forced himself to move. He unplugged one cable from the console and shoved it into the floor panel. Sparks exploded. The drone shot a beam of white energy, burning a hole through the wall. Elias dove behind a heavy chair, heart pounding. The drone floated forward. Its limbs unfolded into sharp blades as it scanned for a clear shot. Elias crawled on the ground toward a loose pipe. When the drone passed over him, he swung the pipe upward. The metal hit the drone's lower base with a loud crack. The machine sparked and dipped, but it did not fall. Instead, it turned toward him, charging another shot. Elias ripped the pipe free and threw it. The pipe hit the drone's eye, making it flicker. For half a second, its aim wavered. That small weakness was enough. Elias grabbed a fallen power cell from the floor and slammed it into the drone's open panel. The energy surged violently and the drone collapsed, dropping to the ground in a burst of smoke. Elias stood over the silent machine, breathing hard. His body shook from adrenaline, exhaustion, and raw anger. He had seen billions erased in one instant. He had seen cities vanish like sand. Now, even killing one drone felt like he was taking something back. He returned to the console and finished connecting the device. The blue glow grew brighter, spreading across the system screens. Lines of alien code appeared, twisting into shapes that humans were never meant to read. Elias ignored the pain in his head as the system forced itself open to him. The device was not only a weapon. It was a key. It linked his mind to the network of the invaders. It let him see what they had done, and what they planned to do next. He saw images in the blue light, the alien architects discussing Earth like it was a bug to remove, not a world full of people. He saw them scanning other systems, preparing to erase more planets, more species, more life. Their plan was simple: make the universe efficient. Remove chaos. Remove emotion. Remove anything that resisted. Remove humans. Elias felt a cold fire grow inside him. The aliens wanted a clean universe. They had made a mistake by leaving him alive. Every human mistake, every human flaw, every human stubborn act, they would feel all of it soon. The station shook again. More drones were coming. Elias tapped commands into the main console. The device's energy level climbed. The lights brightened until the whole room glowed blue. The process had begun. The device was crawling through the alien systems, rewriting their code, filling their perfect logic with human unpredictability. Soon their fleets would fall into confusion. Their networks would collapse. Their ships would turn against each other. They tried to erase Earth. Now Elias would erase them. He pressed the final command. The station lights went dark except for the blue glow around him. The process was unstoppable. He only needed to survive long enough to watch it begin. The first signs of panic were already echoing across the alien channels. Their perfect order was breaking. Elias stepped away from the console and picked up a metal bar from the floor. The next wave of drones approached, red lights shining in the hall. He smiled for the first time since Earth died. "Come on," he whispered. "Let's finish this." The drones stormed into the hall like a swarm of metal insects, their red eyes glowing in the dark corridor. Their thin arms unfolded with sharp edges that looked like cold steel teeth. Elias stepped backward, gripping the metal bar in both hands. His heartbeat slowed as he listened to their clicking limbs. Fear tried to rise inside him again, but he crushed it. There was no room for fear now. There was only the mission. The first drone moved fast, sliding across the floor with an electric howl. Elias swung the bar with all his strength. The metal hit the drone's side, shattering two of its legs. It spun wildly and cracked against the wall. Before he could breathe, another drone aimed a white beam straight at him. Elias dropped to the ground. The beam missed his head by inches and left a smoking hole in the door behind him. He pushed himself up and ran deeper into the hall. Sparks rained from the ceiling as one drone fired again, cutting a support beam clean in half. The beam fell, crushing the drone under a heavy crash. Elias kept moving. He knew the station well enough by now to navigate through the side tunnels. If he could reach the secondary control room, he could lock down the passage and buy himself time. The station groaned as internal systems responded to the weapon he had activated. The lights flickered between red and blue. Sometimes they went completely dark, then returned with chaotic flashes. It felt like the whole structure was alive and angry. Elias hoped that meant the device was working, scrambling the alien systems, spreading human chaos through their perfect networks. He reached a ladder and climbed quickly. His hands were shaking from exhaustion, but he forced them to hold tight. Drones buzzed somewhere below him, scanning, searching. Every noise echoed like thunder. When he reached the upper platform, he jumped off the last rung and landed with a dull thud. The air tasted like burnt wires and dry metal. The secondary control room was small, with only one main console and a thick blast door. Elias rushed to the console and typed the emergency lock command. The heavy door slid shut with a grinding roar. A second later, something crashed against the metal from the other side. The drones had found him again. For now, the door held. Elias leaned against the console and tried to breathe. His helmet visor was cracked, and his suit had tears across the arms and legs. He felt bruises on his ribs and shoulders. But none of that mattered. He wiped sweat from his face and turned to the blue-lit screens. The device's interface appeared again, showing alien symbols shifting rapidly. Elias didn't understand the symbols, but he understood what they meant. He could see the network collapsing. He could see entire sections of the alien fleet going dark. He could even hear faint bursts of static, alien voices beginning to shout in panic as their perfect machines disobeyed or shut off completely. He felt a small spark of hope. It had been a long time since he felt that. He opened the deeper interface. It showed a map of the alien empire, hundreds of systems connected by bright lines of energy. The lines flickered. Some vanished. Some turned red. Every change was caused by the device. And Elias was the one guiding it. He touched the screen gently. "This is for Earth," he whispered. Suddenly the console beeped loudly. A warning message flashed in red. The drones outside had managed to cut through the first layer of the blast door. Metal sparks shot through the crack. Elias braced himself, searching the room for anything he could use as a weapon. He found a small toolbox and dumped it on the floor. Half the tools were broken, but he grabbed a heavy wrench. The drone struck again. The metal bent inward. Elias stood in the middle of the room with the wrench raised, ready to fight. But then the console flashed a new message, one that froze him in place. A ship. A human ship. Elias blinked at the screen. It couldn't be true. All human ships had been destroyed, erased, dissolved in the same white wave that consumed Earth. But the screen showed a small signal approaching from deep space. It was weak, barely readable, but it was real. A human distress beacon. Elias stared at it with disbelief. He reached out and opened the signal. Static filled the speakers, then a broken voice. "Anyone? Hear me? This is the colony ship Resolve. Earth is gone. Repeat, Earth is gone. Survivors aboard. Need help." Elias closed his eyes. Survivors. Not just him. His throat tightened. He wanted to answer. He wanted to scream into the mic that he was alive, that he was fighting back, that humanity was not finished. But the drone slammed against the door again, harder than before. The metal frame groaned. Elias knew he didn't have much time. He hit the command button and sent the Resolve a short message. "I hear you. Hold position. I will clear the way." He didn't have a plan yet, but he knew two things: the aliens would go after the human ship soon, and Elias had to stop them before they erased the last survivors. The door bent again. A long metal claw pushed through a gap. Elias tightened his grip on the wrench. He looked at the blue glow spreading across the alien network. Then he looked at the door. He whispered to himself, "You took my world. You won't take them." The first drone forced its way inside, red eye glowing bright. Elias charged. The first drone crawled through the broken doorway like a metal spider, its red eye sweeping across the small room. Elias rushed forward before it could fully enter. He swung the wrench with all his strength. The heavy tool struck the drone's eye, cracking it and sending the machine into a confused spin. It tried to fire, but the shot hit the ceiling instead, blasting a hole and showering sparks over both of them. Another drone forced its way in behind the first. Elias didn't wait. He rammed the wrench into the joint of the first drone's limb. The limb snapped, and the machine collapsed sideways. The second drone shot a beam at him, but he threw himself behind the console. The beam sliced a deep line across the floor where he had stood. The console screens flickered violently from the impact. Blue and red light mixed in strange patterns. Elias peeked out from behind the console and saw the second drone rising higher, aiming down for a clean kill shot. He grabbed the closest object near him, a broken piece of metal paneling, and hurled it with all his might. The panel hit the drone's sensor array. Its eye flashed, then dimmed. Elias charged at it. He jumped, grabbed the drone's middle frame, and dragged it down. It thrashed wildly, its metal legs slicing the air. Elias slammed the wrench into its core again and again until the machine sparked and went still. He crawled backward, chest burning and arms shaking. His whole body ached. But the door was silent now. No more drones pushed through. For a few seconds, the only sound was his own ragged breathing. Then the console beeped again. He pulled himself up and looked at the screen. The device had reached another level of the alien network. Entire regions of their empire were now dark. He saw icons flashing to show fleets offline, stations malfunctioning, automated weapons turning against their own ships. The alien architects must have been screaming in confusion and fear. Elias didn't feel joy. He only felt purpose. But the device also showed something else. The aliens had detected the colony ship Resolve. They had redirected one of their remaining fleets toward its location. Even if the alien systems were failing, some of their ships were still operational. And they were heading toward the only surviving humans in the galaxy. Elias gripped the edge of the console. The blue light glowed across his face, reflecting in his tired eyes. More civilians. Families, children, people who had escaped Earth by pure chance. He couldn't let the aliens erase them too. He had to think fast. He checked the station's systems. Most were breaking down, corrupted by the device. But one function still showed green: the station's old engine core, built long before the aliens captured the station. The core had enough power to move the entire station, at least for a short distance. Elias felt a new idea forming, dangerous but possible. He could move the station directly into the path of the alien fleet. He could lure them, trap them, and use the device to deliver a final strike. If the station exploded near the fleet's central hub, it could disable all remaining ships. It might even wipe out the last functioning command units. But he would not survive it. He stared at the engine core status. He thought about the message from the Resolve. The broken voice calling for help. The quiet fear in the speaker's tone. He thought of Earth, his friends, his family, the streets where he grew up, now all gone. His hands tightened into fists. He wasn't going to die for revenge. He was going to die to protect what was left. He activated the engine core. The whole station moaned, metal straining as power surged through old wires. Gravity shifted. Sparks danced along the ceiling. The screen shook as the station began to turn. Outside the window, stars slid across the view. A warning klaxon blared. The device showed alien ships changing course. They had noticed the station moving. Elias leaned close to the screen and watched the icons shift. The enemy fleet was adjusting its formation, preparing to intercept. Good, he thought. Come closer. He needed them near the station when the final surge hit. He sent another message to the Resolve: stay hidden. Do not send signals. I will stop them. He hoped they received it. The lights dimmed again as the engines powered up to full strength. The station trembled. Some parts tore themselves loose and drifted into the hallway. Elias braced his hands on the console as the floor shook under him. The device pulsed with stronger blue energy, spreading deeper into the alien networks. But then something changed. A new signal appeared on the interface. Not human. Not alien. Something else. Elias frowned. The signal was faint but growing. It carried no fleet signature, no weapon signature, no ship ID. It was only a pulse. Slow, steady, and impossibly large. The alien fleet also detected it. Their formation shifted again. Not toward the Resolve, not toward the station, toward the unknown signal. Elias zoomed in. The signal was coming from deep space, far beyond the alien empire's borders. He didn't understand it, but one thing was clear: the aliens feared it. Their ships were retreating from its path. "What are you?" Elias whispered. The signal pulsed again. Louder. Closer. The station shook as if responding to the pulse. The device flickered. For the first time, it displayed something like a warning. Elias tried to stabilize the system, but the screen kept flashing the same message in bright red symbols. The new signal was affecting the weapon. Elias stared into the blue glow, feeling a cold dread rise inside him. Something was coming. Something big enough that even the aliens ran from it. And it had noticed him. The station lights dimmed until the room was almost dark. Only the soft blue glow from the device stayed alive, flickering like a heartbeat. Elias stared at the screen, trying to understand the strange signal. It pulsed again, slow, deep, powerful, like something enormous breathing in the dark space beyond known charts. The aliens were afraid of it. That alone made Elias nervous. He pulled up the long-range scan. The image was blurry and unstable, but he could see a single massive object moving closer. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a station. It wasn't anything built by hands. It looked like a shadow stretching across the scan, so large that even the system struggled to measure it. The alien fleet that had been hunting the human colony ship suddenly turned away, abandoning their path. Their formation twisted like a school of fish fleeing a predator. They were still corrupted by his device, still malfunctioning, still broken, but they were united in their fear of this new entity. Elias felt pressure building in his chest. He didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. The unknown signal pulsed again, shaking the station so violently that dust rained from the vents. The console screens glitched. One shut off completely. Elias grabbed the edge of the table to steady himself. He felt the pulse inside his bones. The device flickered, then displayed a strange new symbol. It wasn't alien, at least not from the species that erased Earth. It looked older, smoother, almost like writing. Writing from a forgotten language. Elias swallowed hard. He couldn't match the symbols to anything he knew. They glowed in a steady rhythm, repeating the same pattern every few seconds. He didn't know why, but he felt that the symbols were not a warning. They were a message. He leaned closer. "What do you want?" The station shook again, harder this time, and a terrible groaning noise echoed through the metal frame. Elias fell to one knee. He could hear distant alarms, systems failing everywhere. The engine core, which he had activated to lure the alien fleet, now struggled to stay online. He checked the readings. The engine temperature was climbing too fast. If the core overheated before he positioned the station, it would explode early. And the alien fleet would escape. And the human survivors on the Resolve would be wiped out. "No," Elias whispered through clenched teeth. "Not yet." He forced the engine back into stable mode, rerouting power from one failing subsystem to another. His hands moved quickly, with practiced familiarity. Being the last human meant he had no backup. No one to call. No one to help. He had learned to solve things alone, because there was no other choice. The unknown signal pulsed again, and the engine reading spiked. Elias slammed his fist against the console. The interference was too strong. Whatever was coming, it was disrupting everything, even the alien networks, even his weapon. He opened the device's deep interface screen again. The blue glow brightened, illuminating his face with cold light. The corrupted alien systems continued to collapse, fleets shutting down, structures falling apart. But the new signal pushed against the device's influence, twisting some areas of the network into strange shapes. The aliens weren't fighting him anymore, they were fighting the thing approaching from deep space. Elias didn't know whether to feel grateful. A sudden loud crash shook the room. Elias spun around. Part of the ceiling had fallen in, leaving a cloud of dust and floating debris. He coughed and covered his mouth. The station couldn't take much more of this. It was old and damaged, and the strain of the engine was tearing it apart. He needed to move faster. He turned back to the console and adjusted the station's trajectory. The alien fleet was still shifting away from the mysterious signal, but some of the ships had begun to turn toward him again, hesitating between two threats, the unknown and the human who had broken their empire. Elias cracked a tired smile. "Come on," he muttered. "I'm right here." But then the mysterious signal pulsed again, and everything went still. The station stopped shaking. The lights stopped flickering. Even the engine warnings went silent. Elias stared in confusion. The blue glow on the screen froze mid-pattern. The symbols stopped flashing. And then a new shape appeared on the long-range scan. This time, it wasn't blurry. It wasn't distant. It was huge, so huge that it filled half the screen. A dark sphere, smooth and silent, sliding through space like a planet that shouldn't exist. No engines. No lights. No visible openings. Just a colossal dark shell, swallowing the stars behind it. Elias felt a cold wave move through his body. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He zoomed in. The surface of the sphere shifted slightly, as if made of liquid metal or something alive. Small ripples moved across it, like something inside was turning, watching. Something was watching him. As he stared at the screen, a new line of symbols appeared on the device, glowing brighter than anything before. These symbols were simpler. Clearer. Almost readable. They formed a message he did not expect. Human detected. Elias froze. The device vibrated softly. The station lights flickered back on. The unknown sphere pulsed with the same rhythm as the earlier signal. Then a second line of symbols appeared. Approaching. Elias stepped back from the console. Why? He whispered. The symbols changed again. We seek the one who fought the architects. Elias felt his heart stop for a moment. The architects, the name of the aliens who erased Earth. The dark sphere pulsed once more. We come for you. Elias stared at the glowing message, feeling the cold metal floor beneath his boots as if it were shifting. The dark sphere on the screen pulsed slowly, waiting. The words repeated again in strange symbols that the device translated. We come for you. He wiped dust from his face and whispered, why me? He was just a systems engineer. He had never commanded fleets or studied alien languages. He had only survived because he was stubborn, angry, and lucky in all the wrong ways. Yet something enormous, ancient, and unknown was moving through space to find him. The station trembled again. The engine core screamed under the pressure, metal groaning as if the whole structure were begging to shut down. Elias ignored the warnings. He kept his eyes on the screen. The alien fleet that had been approaching the human colony ship Resolve stopped completely. Then, to his surprise, the ships fled. Not in panic, not in broken formation, they fled in perfect unity. Even corrupted, even damaged, even confused by his device, every ship turned away from the massive sphere. We seek the one who fought the architects, the sphere's message repeated. Elias felt anger tighten in his chest. If you're here to finish the job, I won't make it easy. He grabbed his wrench again. His arm still shook from the last fight, but he held onto the tool like it was a part of him. He turned toward the console and checked the Devic status. It was still spreading chaos throughout the alien empire. Entire regions were collapsing. Fleets were drifting dead in space. But if this new entity reached him, the station would not survive. And if the station fell apart, the device might not deliver its final strike. The alien empire might recover. And the human survivors would die. Elias forced himself to focus. He adjusted the station's trajectory again, pushing it toward the retreating alien fleet. The station rattled violently. The mysterious sphere pulsed, and the console flashed a new message. You are not in danger. Elias almost laughed, bitter and sharp. That's exactly what someone dangerous would say. The sphere pulsed again. We come to speak. He narrowed his eyes. Speak? About what? Silence filled the room. Long, heavy silence. The lights flickered, and the station's metal shell groaned under stress. Then, the sphere sent a new message. The architects tried to erase your world. They were warned. Elias froze. His breath caught. Warned. By who? He stepped closer to the console. You warned them? Why? The device processed for a moment, then printed the answer. Because humanity was not theirs to destroy. Elias felt a strange chill. His fingers hovered over the console. Then whose? Yours? A long pause. The screen flickered. Not ours. Yours. He frowned. What does that mean? Before the device could translate more, the station shook harder than ever before. A loud crash echoed from deep in the structure. Elias grabbed the console to keep from falling. The engine core was reaching its limit. It could explode at any moment. He checked the readings. The core had maybe 10 minutes left before a complete meltdown. If it melted too soon, the explosion would not be strong enough to destroy the remaining alien fleet. He needed to hold everything together. He needed to keep the station alive long enough to finish the fight. But the sphere continued to approach. Its second message appeared. We know why you fight. We watched your world fall. Elias felt a spike of rage. And you did nothing. The screen glowed brighter. Interference was forbidden. But now the architects have broken order. Elias almost broke the console with his fist. They erased Earth. They erased billions of people. If you could stop them, why didn't you? The sphere answered immediately. Because humanity chooses its own fate. Elias froze. The lights dimmed. The sphere sent one more line. You are proving that now. He didn't understand. He didn't want riddles. He wanted answers. He wanted his planet back. He wanted the dead to rise. He wanted the screams and the white flash of Earth's destruction to leave his mind forever. But none of that would happen. He swallowed hard and breathed slowly. No matter what this sphere was, friend or enemy, it wasn't here to save him. And it wasn't here to destroy the aliens for him. It was watching. Watching him fight. Watching humans resist. His grief changed suddenly, sharpening into something colder and clearer. He wasn't fighting for the past anymore. He was fighting for the last human still alive. Elias looked at the screen showing the alien fleet. They were gathering again. This time not to chase him or the human colony ship, but to form a wall between themselves and the sphere. Even broken and corrupted, the architects were terrified of this thing. He didn't know what that meant. But he did know one thing. If the aliens regrouped, humanity was finished. He turned to the device and increased the power output. The blue glow grew brighter, almost blinding. The station groaned under the strain. He whispered to himself, I don't care what that sphere wants. I don't care what it is. I finished the job first. Then he sent a message to the Resolve, stay hidden. I'm ending this. The unknown sphere pulsed again, shaking the station. This time, the message was short. We will watch. And beneath it, a second line appeared. Do not fail. Elias tightened his grip on the console. I won't. The engine core gave a long, cracking roar, like a dying animal crying out from deep inside the station. Elias felt the vibration through the floor and up his legs. The whole structure was falling apart faster than he expected. He wiped sweat from his forehead and forced himself to stay focused. He was almost out of time. The alien fleet was gathering again. Even damaged, even confused by his device's corruption, they were desperate. They formed a wide shield wall, blocking the path between Elias's drifting station and the final target zone where he needed to trigger the explosion. If the station didn't reach that position, the strike would fail, and the aliens would escape. And the human survivors would die. He leaned over the console and rerouted power again. Sparks exploded from the wires, burning his hands. He hissed from the pain but didn't stop. The station slowly pushed through space like a wounded giant. Every meter forward felt like dragging a dead world behind him. The device pulsed again with a deep blue light. It showed new updates, entire alien sectors falling silent, their networks collapsing. The architect's empire was dying. Elias had done that. One angry human with nothing left had broken one of the oldest, coldest civilizations in the galaxy. But the sphere still watched. Every few seconds, the station shook from the sphere's strange pulses. It didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like pressure, like someone knocking on the walls of reality itself. The messages stopped, but the presence remained. Elias felt it like a heavy gaze on the back of his skull. He wondered if it was judging him. He didn't have time to care. A loud bang echoed from the hallway outside the control room. Elias spun around, wrench raised. He waited, breath held. Another bang. Something was forcing its way in. Elias's mind raced. The drones were destroyed earlier. The sphere didn't attack physically. That only left one possibility: the architects had sent a boarding unit. Maybe a small group. Maybe a single one of their terrifying enforcers, the tall, pale machines shaped like living statues. Elias braced himself. The door bent inward, and a bright white blade sliced through the metal like paper. A tall figure stepped inside the room, glowing faintly in the dim light. It was over 2 meters tall, smooth and featureless except for 3 glowing lines across its head. An architect sentinel. Not a drone. Not a machine. A living construct. Part organic, part energy, part hatred. Elias tightened his grip on the wrench. You're late. The sentinel stepped forward. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once, flat and emotionless. Human. You disrupt order. Elias stepped back, keeping the console behind him. You erased my planet. Earth exceeded permitted variance. Elias felt his anger flare. You killed billions because they weren't perfect enough for you? Chaos spreads. Order must remain. Elias swung the wrench at the sentinel's head. The weapon hit with a metallic clang, but the construct barely moved. It tilted its head gently, like someone observing an insect. You resist. Resistance is illogical. Elias stepped back. His heart pounded. He knew he couldn't fight the Sentinel directly. It was too fast, too strong, too cold. But he didn't need to win a fight. He only needed time. He dodged as the Sentinel slashed at him. The blade grazed his suit, cutting a thin line across the fabric. Elias stumbled but found his footing again. If the Sentinel damaged the device, the entire plan would fail. He had to draw it away from the console. He backed toward the center of the room. You built a perfect empire, didn't you? But you never understood humans. The Sentinel raised its blade. Humanity is disorder. Elias grinned, tired, broken, but defiant. Humanity is choice. He threw a metal tool at the Sentinel's head. The construct knocked it aside easily, but that gave Elias 2 seconds, just enough. He sprinted to the far side of the control room. The Sentinel followed him, blade cutting long glowing lines into the floor. Elias ducked under the swing and slammed his wrench into an exposed pipe. Hot steam exploded outward, hitting the Sentinel in the chest. It staggered slightly, giving him another second. He didn't waste it. He rushed to the console and slammed his palm onto the final override for the engine core. The station lurched violently. The Sentinel turned sharply, realizing what he had done. Stop, it commanded. No, Elias gasped, breath shaking. You first. The engine core roared like a star about to explode. The station accelerated toward the alien fleet, shaking apart piece by piece. The Sentinel rushed at him. The device pulsed, once, sharply. A shock wave of blue energy burst from the console, slamming the Sentinel backward. It struck the far wall, limbs locking as the device's corruption crawled across its glowing lines. Elias watched it freeze in place, trapped by the very corruption he created. You should have erased me when you had the chance. The Sentinel twitched, voice glitching. Human. Anomaly. Yeah, Elias said softly, turning back to the console. We're good at that. He looked out the small window. The alien fleet grew larger as the station drifted closer. Soon, very soon, the explosion would reach them. Then he saw another flash of blue on the screen. A message. From the sphere. We observe strength. Another line appeared. Prepare. Elias frowned. Prepare for what? The answer came immediately. You have earned a question. Elias blinked. A question? He whispered, what kind of question? The sphere's final message appeared. Ask what you truly wish to know. Elias felt his throat tighten. Only one question lived in his heart. One question that had haunted him since Earth vanished. He placed a shaking hand on the console. And he asked. Can they be brought back? The sphere pulsed. Once. Twice. Then the screen began to answer. The screen flickered, and Elias felt his heart beating so loudly that it drowned out the sound of the collapsing station. He waited for the sphere's answer, eyes locked on the glowing symbols as they slowly formed into translated words. At last, the message appeared. No. The word hit him harder than any weapon. Elias closed his eyes. His chest tightened as if something inside him had cracked. Part of him had known the answer from the moment he asked. Earth was gone, truly gone. Not conquered. Not damaged. Erased. But the sphere wasn't finished. A second line formed. But their end is not your end. Elias breathed in slowly, forcing himself to stay steady. Then why offer me a question? The sphere responded with another pulse, shaking the metal around him. To see what a human chooses when faced with loss. He stared at the words. And what do you see? The answer came immediately. Strength. Defiance. The will to protect what remains. Elias felt the smallest spark of warmth in his chest. Just a spark, enough to keep him standing. But he didn't have time to feel anything more. The engine core screamed again, louder, sharper, seconds from exploding. The alien fleet ahead filled the window like a wall of dark knives. They were preparing to fire, even in their broken state. He saw their weapons charge, their lines flickering with dying power. He whispered, come on. Just a little closer. The explosion would only work if the station was close enough. If he misjudged by even a few seconds, the remaining alien forces might survive. And that would mean the end of the resolve. The end of humanity's last survivors. Another groan ripped through the station. Panels fell from the ceiling. Fire burst from the hallway behind him. He checked the distance. Close. Almost perfect. The Sentinel stuck to the wall suddenly twitched, its voice glitching. Human, stop. Explosion, illogical. Elias didn't even turn to look at it. You don't get to talk about logic today. He reached toward the final trigger. But then the sphere sent a new message. We will carry your act forward. Elias froze. What does that mean? The next line made him step back from the console. Step away, human. Elias hesitated. He looked at the window. The alien fleet was right there. He could feel their fear even through their cold programming. He needed, to be the one who ended them. He wanted the architects to know that a human, one broken survivor, had destroyed them. This is my fight, he said quietly. The sphere pulsed. We honor that. But your part is done. A deep vibration filled the air, different from the engine. Deeper. Older. It came from the sphere. The dark object outside, still far away yet impossibly massive, glowed faintly around its edges. Not like light, but like reality bending. Elias felt his bones shake as if something was reaching across space, touching the station, touching him. The engine core, which had been seconds from exploding, suddenly stabilized. Completely. Every warning vanished. The roaring stopped. Elias stared in disbelief. How? The sphere answered. We hold it. Then. Now watch. The dark sphere trembled once. A silent pulse spread across space. It moved too fast for the eye to track. One moment the pulse surrounded the sphere, the next moment it struck the alien fleet, a soundless tidal wave. The alien ships didn't explode. They didn't burn. They simply unraveled. Millions of pieces turned to dust, drifting apart like sand blown by a cosmic wind. Entire warships, battleships, carriers, dissolving into particles. No fire. No screams. No debris. Just silence. The architects were gone. Truly gone. Elias stared at the empty space where the fleet had been. His hands trembled. He didn't feel triumph. He didn't feel joy. Instead, he felt something deeper. An exhaustion so heavy he almost fell to his knees. The device on the console flickered, then dimmed. It had nothing left to do. Its job was complete. The sphere sent one last message. The architects are erased. Your species endures. Elias let out a slow breath. So, what happens now? The reply came gently, almost like a whisper. Now, human chooses again. The message continued. We can return you to your survivors. Elias felt a weight lift slightly from his shoulders. The resolve, the last humans, were still out there, waiting, hiding, hoping. He nodded. Then take me to them. But the sphere wasn't finished. But we offer one more choice. Elias tensed. What choice? The symbols shifted. Join us. His heart skipped. Learn what humans were meant to become. He stared at the glowing words. Me? Why me? The reply made his throat tighten. Because you stood alone against the end of your world. Because you fought when logic said surrender. Because you carry the spark that frightened the architects. Elias felt the station tremble again, this time not from damage, but from something like a pull, a beckoning. Join them. Or return to the last humans. One path into the unknown. One path back to his people. He thought of Earth's last moments. He thought of the voices on the resolve. He thought of the sphere's cold, calm power. Then, finally, he answered with a steady voice. I stay with my people. The sphere pulsed once, approval, almost respect. We understand. Then we will guide you. The station began to move. Slowly. Safely. Toward the hidden human ship. Elias exhaled and closed his eyes. For the first time since Earth died, he let himself feel a small, quiet peace. The architects tried to erase Earth. But humanity endured. Because one human refused to fall.